Hello and welcome to my weekly video blog, and today on A Vogel Talks Menopause I'm going to be talking about 6 vaginal and urinary symptoms of the menopause. If you like my tips and advice, then please subscribe and remember to hit the bell icon so you can be notified of all my new videos. The menopause can have a huge impact on the vagina and also the urinary tract, and this can lead to many uncomfortable symptoms, embarrassing symptoms that you might not want to talk to anybody about. So I thought today that I would take a look at some of the symptoms you can get, why they occur, and what you can do to help yourselves. Now, urinary genital problems in the menopause will affect the vagina, will affect the bladder, and also the vulval area. So it is basically affecting this whole area, both inside and out. So number one is vaginal dryness, and this is a really common menopause symptom. Sometimes it occurs on its own, but other times it can be accompanied by what's called atrophy. And what happens here is that the vagina walls become thinner, they become more brittle, and they can end up almost falling into each other. So the vagina practically disappears. When this happens, you can get burning pain, you can get irritability, extremely painful during and after sex, and also just a general feeling of total discomfort that very often doesn't go away. The main reason for this is your estrogen falling. When your estrogen falls, it affects the production of mucus in the vagina, and when the vagina starts to dry, it's that dryness that then affects the vagina walls. The walls dry out, and as I say, they become more brittle. So what you can do here is several things. First of all, there is a supplement called sea buckthorn oil, which is really good for vaginal dryness and dryness everywhere else. It's a really good supplement to take for all sorts of different things, but it can be really helpful for vaginal dryness. The other thing I would also recommend is that when the vagina starts to dry, then that can affect the level of friendly bacteria in the vagina, and that will have an impact on vaginal health too. So look for a specific vaginal probiotic which you will be able to get from your health food shops. And remember the water, dryness, especially in the vaginal area, very often it's just dehydration from falling estrogen. So remember plenty of water. Number 2 is genital itching in and around the vagina. Again, very often this one can be due to less mucus being produced, because the mucus that's being produced also helps to lubricate just outside the vagina too. So if that starts to dry, then you can get irritation here too. You can get burning, thinning of the outer walls of the vagina, and the labia too can be a particular issue. Also, if things start to dry, then that area is going to become even more sensitive to any kind of chemicals. So this could be even things like toilet paper, believe it or not, because a lot of toilet paper is bleached. So that there's going to be chemical on the toilet paper. You have got the chemicals in your washing powder that you're using to wash your underwear in. It can also be if you're using synthetic fibers in your underwear, because that can stop the air getting in, and that again can cause a rise in temperature. If you get heat, you're going to get more irritation and itching as well. For this situation, there is something that we do, and you should be able to get in health food shops. It's called St. John's wort oil. You need to make sure that you get a really pure one, because you don't want to be putting anything with any chemicals in it onto that particular area. You can also look at an organic aloe vera gel, but make sure there are no preservatives or other chemicals in it. And if you're getting really hot and itching, you can keep that in the fridge, and it's really very, very cooling. And I would also take a probiotic in this situation as well. And just remember, this is the one situation where big baggy pants can often make a difference, just because they allow the air to circulate that little bit better. Number 3 is what's called pelvic floor changes. We have it's almost like a sling of muscles going from one side of the hips to the other. And this strap of muscles holds up the womb, the bladder, and the bowel. And what can happen, unfortunately, is that these muscles can weaken, especially if you've had children. They can have started to weaken, many, many years before you get to the menopause. So when these pelvic muscles weaken, then the bowel, the bladder, and the vagina and the womb, they can shift position. And when that happens, you get what's called a prolapse. And very often this shift of these organs can put pressure on the bladder, and you can then end up finding that you're running to the toilet every 5 minutes, and you get lots of bladder infections as well. For this one, for a prolapse, there's nothing really you can take supplement or herb-wise that's going to make a great deal of difference. But the one thing that can be really, really helpful is Pilates. If you can find an experienced teacher, you can get instructions on how to do very specific pelvic floor exercises that can work extremely well. There's a lot of classes now, and I was speaking to a Pilates instructor a while ago, and she was saying that prolapses are becoming so common in women at menopause age, and women are now seeking advice on them. So there's a lot of Pilates instructors are holding classes specifically for the pelvic floor exercises. So this is one just to Google a practitioner near you, and sometimes it may only take a few classes for you to learn these exercises, and then you just do them on a daily basis. And I've had women come back who say it's made such a difference to their quality of life after they've learned to do the exercises, so worth checking out. Number 4 is frequent urinary tract infections, often combined with thrush. Problem here is what happens is, I've had cystitis, and I know how utterly horrible, painful, and just terrible that it can be. So what we do is we tend to go to the doctor, we'll get antibiotics, which will clear it up, which is great. But antibiotics will also kill off the friendly bacteria in your vagina, and these friendly bacteria in the vagina help to protect the opening of the urethra, which is the tube that goes up to the bladder. So if you lose the defense of these friendly bacteria, then that leaves you much more vulnerable to repeat and secondary infections. If you change the friendly bacteria in the vagina, you're more likely to get thrush. So you need to kind of break that vicious cycle of antibiotics infection. So again, here it would be a vaginal probiotic, and also we have a really lovely licensed product called Uva Ursi and Echinacea, which is licensed for cystitis. You can also look at unsweetened cranberry juice. And the other thing is drink loads of water. I mean, double your intake of water while you have something like cystitis, because that will really help to flush all these horrible bacteria out of the bladder, and it can make you a lot more comfortable. And yes, you may have to spend a couple of days running to the toilet a lot more often, but just drinking lots of water can speed up the whole healing process. Number 5 is just increase of urination. You haven't changed your drinking habits, and you suddenly find that you're running to the toilet twice as much. And very often when you do go, you find that you only pass a little bit of urine, and you get this terrible urge to go. It's really desperate. And then when you get there, you're passing practically nothing. This is a really good indication of an irritated bladder. Now, the bladder is also a mucous membrane. So as your estrogen falls, the bladder is going to be affected. It can become weaker, and the inside wall of the bladder can become much more vulnerable to irritation. And falling estrogen causes general dehydration. So here you are in a situation where your bladder is more irritated generally. You are also getting more dehydrated, you're not drinking enough, and your urine basically just becomes very acidic, very concentrated, and that will continually irritate your bladder, and that is what makes you need to go. So the really super easy treatment here is just loads of water. It will help to decrease the acidity, and you will find that even though you're drinking more, you may well be going to the toilet less than what you do normally. And this is also a really good tip if you end up having to get up 3 or 4 times during the night. A little shot glass of warm water before bed can often help to reduce that whilst you're sleeping. The other thing it can be is different foods and also drinks. So things like your caffeine, your alcohol, fizzy drinks, and high salt, sugar and spicy foods. So if you've got an irritated bladder, it's best to avoid these if you can, just until things settle down. For an irritated bladder, we have a really nice remedy called cranberry complex tablets, which can also be taken as a preventative if you're getting repeat infections as well. And number 6 is incontinence. This is a really embarrassing one. You might find that you leak when you laugh, when you run, when you move, when you do your exercise classes. It can be a really horrible symptom here. With this particular one, again, it's a combination possibly of weak pelvic floor muscles. There's also the possibility that your bladder is really irritated, and the bladder valve then becomes so irritated that it doesn't shut properly and it doesn't hold the urine in the bladder, and this is why you get the leaking all the time. Obviously, double check with this one, and if you feel that you've got a prolapse, it's really important to get these things checked out by your doctor just to make sure that there's nothing else going on. But for the incontinence, then again, it would be the Pilates is really the one thing, plus just making sure you drink plenty of water. So I hope you found this one helpful. It's quite complex, and you can sometimes get a combination of these different symptoms all happening at the same time, which can make it that little bit more difficult to sort. But hopefully these tips will help. And if any of you have other tips with any of these symptoms, then please share them, because we'd love to hear all about them. And until then, I will see you next week for another edition of A. Vogel Talks Menopause.